Hi all, welcome back. In this short video, we'll be looking at installing and configuring Visual Studio Code for Python. I'm Vivek Mishra, and we'll look into how to use VS Code as a preferred IDE for developing Python applications. Before diving into Visual Studio Code installation, let us find out what are the other available options we have. And first and the simplest choice would be a text editor like Notepad and VI. And technically, you can develop all the applications in a simplistic text editor. That is all probably Python needs. But it would be similar to taking a 1,000 miles journey on a bicycle. Not that you can't take it. In a professional business world, that would not be the most efficient way to do the job. So we should consider some IDE which can also provide us with a better intelligence, project management, and debugging and other contemporary facilities. One such IDE editor comes as a part of Python installation, and that is IDLE, which stands for Interactive Development and Learning Environment. Apart from that, you also have an option of using PyCharm, which is one of the most popular IDEs for developing Python applications. And the reason of me not choosing it is a licensing cost attached to it. Although there is a community edition also available, community editions typically will have their own limitations. Then you can use Microsoft's Visual Studio to configure and use for developing Python applications. And once again, there would be licensing issue, or you can use Eclipse. So another reason for me actually avoiding both Visual Studio and Eclipse is the fact that they are extremely heavyweight IDEs. Visual Studio Code, on the other hand, is not only a lightweight cross-platform IDE, it also supports extensive extensions for Python and other open source languages, and is becoming one of the most popular choices among the developer community. So let's head on to Visual Studio Code website to download, install, and configure for use in Python. We'll head away to code.visualstudio.com website, which is the official site for downloading Visual Studio Code. And here we have an option to download it for Windows. There are options available for other platforms. And I have another video which discusses the installation process in a greater detail. You may look into that video if you want to learn more about installing Visual Studio Code. For now, I'll install the standard Visual Studio installer by choosing this user installer 64-bit for Windows. Now this is downloading Visual Studio Code on my machine. And now that the download is complete, we would run this Visual Studio Code installer. So this installer process will be simple and straightforward. For most of the steps, I would accept the agreement and move on. It is okay to choose the default location of Visual Studio Code where it is installed. However, I would recommend you to pay special attention on the next screen, where we have a couple of choices. And I would strongly recommend you to select the first two choices, which adds Visual Studio Code on the context menu of files and folders. And that would be really helpful as we go on. I would also recommend not to choose this option for installing Visual Studio or registering it for the supported file types, as you may have other preferences for editing Java or .NET applications like Eclipse or Visual Studio. So with these three checkboxes on, we finish the installation process, and we will be back once the installation is over. Now that Visual Studio Code is installed, we will be launching this Visual Studio Code IDE. The first time screen will look something like this. We have choices here, such as exploring the file, searching for the content, committing to the Git, debugging the application, and a very important option, extensions, which is the marketplace. And now we also have a test window view to test our code, and moreover those things later. So now that we have the Visual Studio Code installed, we would be configuring it to run Python. So first, a few general configuration. I generally prefer to keep this option autosave, so that after typing a few lines of code, I can actually save the code. And we should be working in the folder structure. So Visual Studio Code highly recommends you to open a folder, and the folder is used as a project. So we don't have a separate project file as .NET Eclipse or other IDEs create. Every file in a folder is typically considered as part of the same project. So let's start a folder and we'll call it as file on VS Code. And here we have started a new folder, and now we should be seeing all the files in this folder, which is currently empty. And here we are going to write our first, say, Python application. If I say hello world.py, now as soon as I have created a Python file, it says that the Python extensions are recommended for this page, and whether I want to install it or see the recommendations, and that would always be a good idea. If I just come and see the recommendations given, it says that these are some of the Python recommendations for Python application, Python for linting, debugging, etc. VS Code database supports MySQL and other features. And in my experience, the first one is really recommended. So we'll pick it up in a moment, but let's for the time being come and say print hello world. You see, we have a limited syntax check, but we do not have a way to run this Python application right now. Now, you can typically run this application even without needing an extension, and you can press your Control key, the one you find left to the digit 1 on your keypad, and you enter the terminal window. Alternatively, you can also come to the terminal window by coming here, and here we can try out running Python hello world.py. So note, I'm assuming that your system is already configured to run Python command, and if not, I would highly recommend you to go through the previous video on how to install and run Python 2 and Python 3 on Windows machine. Right now, this command which runs Python 3 runs this program successfully, and I can also run it by typing hello world.py, and that will be running this thing. So now we have Visual Studio Code, and we can type the command in an integrated terminal to execute. But now let's see how these installers are going to help me. If I install this Python extension recommended by Microsoft, but at this stage, it would be a good idea for you to go through this README and see what are the options this extension provides. For now, I can simply right-click the script, and I can choose to run the current Python file in the terminal. And when you do that, this application runs using Python 3 on the place. So we do not, right now it's running Python 3. So if I come and create another file, which is hello py2.py, and write a command such as Python hello world, you see we get a error, which is due to the linter Microsoft Python extension has installed for us. It says, look, you cannot write without parenthesis because it realizes that we are using Python 3.7.4 for our application. If we try to run this code, and you see there is an option run Python file in terminal, This will give me an error because it is trying to execute a script which is designed for Python 2 to run in Python 3. By the way, you can use this terminal to try running this using the py command, and you would see that this will work perfectly fine. But again, if you do not want to run it from the terminal, how do I run it from here? And as you can see in the status bar, we have an option to version select which version of Python we need. I can choose Python 2, and as soon as I choose Python 2, the Python linter has stopped complaining about this code that it is having a missing parenthesis. And if I run the Python once again from here, we will realize that this code works perfectly fine. By the way, this code is also compatible with Python 2, so this should also run perfectly fine for the time being. So this Python extension gives us a few IntelliSense. It also gives me autocomplete. So if I just say, it says, okay, you may be like willing to write input, or you may be using index error, which are Python features, and we have an IntelliSense and we can run the code. Apart from installing the extension that we just installed, I would recommend you to install a couple more extensions to help yourself. And one of the extension is a test runner, so that you can run the Python test directly from here. So you see, I can search for Python test, and even if you don't know if an extension exists, you can see Python Text Explorer for Visual Studio Code is a great add-on which can install Python's tool, and it can help you run Python tests in your code. We'll be looking more into that later. I'd also recommend you to install Python for VS Code, which provides certain language extension pack, and Text Explorer UI, so that it gives you some sidebar feature which is already by the way installed, which is the Text Explorer UI, which is installed at this stage. So now we have Python and some of the Python extensions which work great. So at this stage, if you really want Python to be running on your system, you can look into the enabled extensions of Python on your machine by not searching anything. And as you can see, there are certain popular extensions, certain recommended extensions, and any extension that is already installed on my machine will get a settings icon. Something which is not installed gives me this icon, and now you can work with your Visual Studio Code is ready to write your Python course. Another utility as an added bonus I would recommend is to install CodeRunner. And CodeRunner can, no, this one, CodeRunner can help you run not only Python but also C, C++, Java and other codes here. And once you run or install CodeRunner, you get a play icon here, a universal play icon to run different kind of applications here. If I'm installing this CodeRunner, I got another icon here which can help me run the Python code. This is the CodeRunner icon, and this is the Python terminal icon. And now as you can see, it is trying to run it in the standard Python. We will be having a separate video on how to configure VSCode for the CodeRunner for running Python, but probably it may not be too useful now that Python by Microsoft automatically gives me a run option here. So now we are ready with Python installed, Visual Studio Code installed. We can be productive and write Python code. So happy coding and stay tuned.